in one of the movies about maybe being taken advantage of, like that's more likely than a person being violent. And one movie that I saw, Fences,
Mm.
was played by August Wilson, depicts a brother, and I believe
Yeah.
he was in the military, but his
Yeah.
brother was maybe his guardian or payee of some sort, where he had control of his money. And oftentimes, I think that's a reality in
Oh yeah.
certain
Oh yeah.
families where someone's receiving the person's check, and then once that person decides and wants to control his or her own funds,
Yeah.
how that dynamic plays out between the family members. I found that interesting in that particular movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's an excellent film, and just a fabulous film. And that dynamic is not one that we often see presented to us. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the real life struggle. That's one of the reasons I like Canvas, because there's a real life problem for this middle class, working class family to try to
Right.
pay bills when mom can't work, dad's in construction, they have a kid in middle school. It's a real struggle. So in Fences, when you have an actual payee,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of Americans, unless they have a person with a disability in their family, they don't even know what that means.
Right.
You know,
Right.
if they don't have a personal connection where they've experienced the fact that, if you've been homeless or you're living on assistance or you have official disability status, you have to have this relationship with someone who accepts your checks for you.
Right.
There are all kinds of questions about autonomy and the ability to have an independent life in some form. Uh,
Right.
and that's one of the things I like about the film Canvas or um, The Drummer and the Keeper, the Irish film that I was mentioning.
Mm-hmm.
For both these young men, they're faced with, they have to become, find a way to be independent and support each other, or what? There's
Right.
you know you have
Right.
you have a kid with autism who turns 18, and that means that he no longer can live in the care facility that he's been in.
Right.
What's he going to do? And
What's right.
that's a real problem that parents, that families face all the time
And
with.
I think that's depicted in Soul Food. It
Mhm.
became a series, a cable series, but the initial movie, and Uncle Pete, who was always in
Mhm.
the room, and it's likely that he may have had mental health concerns,
Yeah,
but it was like an extended family situation. So
yeah,
maybe Uncle Pete was that person as a younger child where
right,
somebody took care of him, but he aged out, if you will, of the
yeah,
system, or it was more economically feasible for the family to just take him in and make sure that
sure,
he's properly cared for.
sure.
But those are like real life situations. Who's going to care for them?
Mhm.
Even with parents, as they get older, if they have a child with mental health issues and the parents die, who's
Yeah,
going to take
yeah,
responsibility for this child now, even after he or she turns 18 or older?
right. And
Yeah.
I think you've been involved in NAMI, and
Yes.
NAMI kind of originated out of parents with adult children with serious mental illnesses like bipolar and schizophrenia, who were just getting no help, and they
Right.
were just beyond frustrated with the risks to their kids, the fact that they couldn't find effective treatments, and they didn't know what to do. And a lot of those original NAMI parents asked that question: what if something
Right.
happens to me? And it's not just mental illness, but also neurodevelopmental disorders, intellectual disabilities, the autism spectrum. You often have the parents, uh, what thinking long-term plan, what
Right.
what is a way that I can be there for my child as they move into adulthood, without completely just denying their independence. Because often you have people are like, I want to keep you here, I want to keep you safe,
Right.
I want to keep you as under control as possible. And so one of the struggles that a lot of NAMI parents will face is they want stability, they want safety, and maybe that means they wrap their arms a little too tight.
Mm-hmm.
And for the child with the illness, as an adult, there's like, I want my own life. I want to
Right.
make decisions. And in between is the freaking illness, you
And
know?
that may happen with the adults, again,
Yeah.
with my situation. My mother wants to control her money, but we have a guardian over her, the person,
Yep.
now. But this is a great segue to just leave those who have joined us with some resources. I believe from what I heard, IG will like kick you off after a period of time, and I don't know what that is. But I just want to let people know, like you mentioned, NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and the phone number, you can text NAMI, NAMI, to 741-741, or go online and look up NAMI, NAMI.org. In our local NAMI, Stark County, has some great resources that are available online right now, especially in the midst of this pandemic, that
Yeah.
people can take advantage of just by participating in Zoom conferences. I myself participated in the family support group for families and friends that have a loved one living with severe mental illness. I found it just refreshing, informative, and I would love to participate in it again.
I'm so
But
glad
even
they
the
were able to do
peer-to-peer,
that.
oh yes, it's
Yeah.
very helpful. And that's why the fundraising is important for NAMI. And I participated the last 2 years in the walk and helping to raise money. And just the turnover rate of people who work for mental health services,
Yeah.
because they don't make a lot, or like we saw depicted in the Joker, the funds are cut and the
Yeah.
services are no longer available. So we want to make sure that the services are there. And I just want to share with those who have joined, it is a very difficult situation, having a family member or a loved one living with severe mental illness, but it's not impossible.
Yeah.
And so I encourage people to not try to do it alone and to reach out for the resources that are available in the community. Do your part in helping to destigmatize mental illness and keep the conversation going, and then moving it forward to taking action. What would you
Absolutely.
like to leave with our audience?
Uh, 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 be be the kind of person who, when you see media that is sending a message that is harmful to people with mental illness, that you call it out for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've had so many conversations with students over the years, especially like if I say, Criminal Minds is the single most stigmatizing program ever created. And they're like, but I love it. but but I love it. And I say, you can love something and still be able to critically analyze it and talk about why it's problematic. Um,
Right.
so I think when you see things that disturb you, that concern you, about what you're seeing, whether it's on Twitter, or I was shopping on Amazon a couple of years ago and I noticed a shirt that said, keep calm and kill yourself.
Oh
You
my.
know, you have to keep your eye open for these things and don't let them go.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of called out my stigma buster warriors, and several of them somehow magically found an actual phone number that a real person answers at Amazon, and they took the shirt down.
Oh wow, that's great.
So,
Great.
when you see things that bother you, when you see things that concern you, you need to call them out for what they are. And at the
Right.
very least, educate the people to your right and the people to your left. Because if we can do that and we keep spreading it, then we'll get more and more positive depictions. And
Right.
for those of you out there who create content, who tell stories, who write music, who communicate with that whole world of media, tell positive stories or tell honest stories, uh,
Right.
that really capture the real lives of people with mental illness, because it is 1 in 4 of us, um,
Right.
who live with varying degrees and varying types of mental health problems. So tell stories that are real, tell stories that are authentic, and that will help us push the needle, in the direction of more positive, more effective portrayals.
Right. That's good. Well, thank you again for joining me. I look forward to working with you or collaborating in some kind of way
Absolutely.
with other projects, and perhaps we can have another conversation if you see something on TV or
Sure.
in a movie and we can talk about it. But this was a great conversation, and I had recently posted like some of the movies that I mentioned today, and that spurred other people to add to the list. So again, that's what led me to watch the 3 movies that I watched this weekend. And so if you hear about another movie or a show, please let me know, because I
I
would love
will.
to take a look and we can critically analyze it. So thank you again for joining. And for all those who joined on, thank you for joining us this evening. Please share comments, questions, inbox us. And thank you very much, Dr. Daly.
Thank you so much for having me, Corey.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.